Supplies are considered the supplies needed to perform administrative tasks. Office stationery is one of the most used supplies in business. Things like pens, pencils, notepads, staplers, hole punches, etc. Stationery is one of the most misused items in an organization. It is important to keep track of stationery items. Therefore, it is necessary to have control systems in place. Why do I say it's misused? Because the items are so delectable that on some odd occasion we may take a pen home or take some paper or an envelope. This happens, but have you ever calculated what it costs an organization if each person took a pen home every day? You'll most probably find yourself in a situation where stock lists already exist or systems are already in place. When taking over stationery control and/or starting a new system, first start by taking an initial stock count of the stationery in stock on that present date. It could look something like the example you have on the screen, a list of all the items in the stationery, as well as the amount of items that are in stock. Creating a system like this, or even starting a system like this, will help you to plan and monitor and improve the stock levels, create effective shortage controls, create accurate reports that reflect stationery movements, and the documents used for the control of the stationery. Once you've created your stock list and you have an initial stock take of items that are present in the stationery at that specific point in time, then you can create yourself a stock issue list where you record and track how stock was issued. So, example on the screen, you can see in the table there, we have a date, who I issued the stock to, what stock item it was, how many was in stock, which is taken from the stock list if it's the first time, and then how many stock was issued out, and then create a balance. This provides for planning and monitoring. I can immediately see what my balance is, and then I can check that balance against whatever's in the cupboard or whatever's in the stationery control room. Then Mary took a pen on a specific date. The stock items of pens is 6. She took 1. I have 5 left. This way I can track the usage of stationery as well as control the issue of stationery. By tracking the usage, this gives finance a good idea of the amount to budget for stationery. You can also keep track of consumption levels and reduce shrinkage. Shrinkage being small amounts of stationery taken and or misplaced over time, which essentially means a loss to the organization. Now, you already have a very small but simple system in place. A system like this is beneficial in many ways. It provides a monitoring and controlling system of stock levels and effective shrinkage controls. Stock can be ordered timeously. No need for being overstocked and or ordering too much. The consumption of employees can be monitored and controlled. It's also very important to ensure that stationery rooms are allocated and or stationery cabinets. This will depend on the amount of stocks that you're actually using. The room must be kept free from damp. It must be well ventilated. It should be kept locked at all times. Stationery must be stored in shelves. Documents must be stored in numerical order. Heavy items should be stored near to the door. Often used items should be easy to find, and store new stock behind old stock. Each organization has its own procedures for controlling stationery, and you must always follow the procedure. The procedure may look something like this. A stock list must be drawn up on in-stock items, levels determined, a control sheet must be completed and signed by the issuer of and the issuee. The date and description of the stationery item must be entered. Where possible, the price must be allocated, and ensure to enter the correct cost code. Make sure to find out in your organization what the stationery control system is and what the process involves. As part of the stationery procedure, the distribution processes or procedures should also be included. Now, your procedures in distributing stationery could look something like this. identified when, where and how stationery will be issued, set the distribution process down on paper, communicate the process to all employees, usually in the form of a memo, send a request via email, an issued document will be completed, items issued and documented, delivery service notified, delivery service collects within 24 hours and delivers the same day of collection. Now, that's just an example in terms of the process that will be followed so that all employees know exactly what needs to be done and when they'll receive their stationery. Now, when we also talk about a courier service, you may be in charge of a large stationery department where you've got to issue to a number of stores or a number of departments outside of your organization. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult to handle rather than a small cabinet stationery system. To ensure that your systems are working for your customers, you could develop a questionnaire just like the one that you learnt about in Cluster 3 for the reception area. It is always a good idea to find out how your customers experience your service. When you receive the evaluations, analyze the results, and if there's any areas for improvement, discuss the possible solutions with your manager, decide on a plan of action, and implement the improvement. Remember, quality is continuous improvement of current levels versus expected levels. If you have continuous misconduct and or incorrect ordering of stationery from employees, either too little, too much, whatever the case may be, analyze the situation against finding possible causes and implement corrective actions. If the analysis shows that 10 pens, for instance, were issued by John's department, in one day, however, there's only 5 people working there, we need to know that something is wrong and that the stationery is then being misused. In this case, stock should be refused and a meeting arranged with the relevant parties to address the situation. When ordering stock, this is done according to purchasing processes in your organization. Make sure to be aware of the order process and the source documents required. Once stocks are delivered, ensure to check the actual stock items against the delivery note and or invoice. Update your stock sheets to reflect the new stock. And that's a wrap for topic 7 and essentially for cluster 5. I'm sure you've enjoyed the information and use it wisely. Nobody can ever take information away from you. Make sure that you stay informed and find out situations or find out information if you're not sure about anything. Let's take a look at what we've learned. Make sure to have stock lists and sheets to order, monitor and control stationery being used and or ordered. Having an efficient system allows for sufficient control and or evaluation of stationery within the organization. Always make sure to be aware of an organization's stationery procedures and policy of issuing. In cases where there's out-of-line situations, analyze, evaluate, and take suitable action to address the situation. Ensure to always check actual stock received against the paperwork.